about 2 years, every human being in the world was forced to wear face masks in public to avoid the spread of COVID-19. Every day at work, surgeons wear their surgical masks when operating on patients to avoid catching or spreading any diseases. Firemen wear their masks while putting out fires. Construction workers wear masks to avoid inhaling dust particles. But truthfully, we all wear masks every day of our lives. But these masks are not ones we wear on our faces. They're the ones we wear to avoid vulnerability and to avoid letting people know what we are really feeling. When you're upset and someone asks you what's wrong, why do you say you're fine when you know that you're definitely not fine? When we say we're fine when we're not, relationships can be ruined. Stress can build up. Anxiety can build up. And all for what? What is the point of acting like we are okay in times when we know that we are not okay? Why do humans say that we're fine in times when we're clearly not fine? During times of hurt, why don't we open up and tell people why we are hurting? Don't you think that we would feel a lot better after sharing our feelings, rather than just keeping it all inside and letting it build up? In times of feeling strong emotions, humans tend to put on a mask that shields us from vulnerability when we should instead be vulnerable towards others and try to better express our feelings. Vulnerability towards others can help us come face to face with our emotions and will help us be more brave and resilient in the future. Avoiding being vulnerable with others and talking about your feelings is something most humans unfortunately experience, myself included. Back in 2020, I spent the entirety of my freshman year sitting at my desk in my bedroom, actually most of the time in my bed, staring at a screen for 6 hours every day. Occasionally with my dogs too. My school in New Jersey went from all virtual for the first few months of school to 2 half-days a week in school. They kept the windows open during school hours, which they somehow thought would stop the spread of COVID-19. This was nothing but miserable in the 20-degree New Jersey winter. I eventually got tired of sitting in the back of my classroom, shivering in my winter jacket, so cold that I was unable to focus for the 8 hours a week I got to spend in school. In these cold, miserable weeks of part virtual, part in-person school, I began to fall apart. Not to mention, my dad's fitness studio franchises were also forced to shut down for 7 months in the midst of all this. Nobody other than my family understood what I was going through. But I was smiling when I saw people, smiling on social media, and laughing a lot as usual. For example, this was me one day in January of 2021 after I finished my half-day of online school. However, this was me the next day, smiling for the camera and looking so happy with my friend. But what people didn't see was that we were freezing outside in the 20-degree weather because we weren't allowed to be inside due to COVID. Also, the school split us up into 2 groups based on the first letter of our last name. So, I wasn't even going to school with most of my friends anymore. I started drifting from my friends due to lack of human interaction. Sure, I had plans for some weekends with my friends, and I posted on social media, as usual, when I was with them. But what people didn't see was the countless amounts of times I tried to make plans with the friends that I was drifting from, but they just shut me out. I cried almost every day after school to my mom about how I hated the current life I was living. I was acting like I was doing okay and doing great when I was around my peers, but the truth is, I wasn't. Many humans struggle to open up and talk about what they're feeling inside. Maybe even you. If I could go back in time, I would have had a long conversation with one of the few friends who stuck with me through this difficult time, and I would have told them how I was feeling. I would have told them how my mental health had been deteriorating since the start of that freshman year. I would have told them how my dad's businesses that kept my family afloat were quickly plummeting into the ground. I would have told them that all my smiles and laughs were just a mask that I was wearing, rather than expressing how I was actually feeling. I bet that if I had spoken to someone about how I was feeling, that I wouldn't have had to fake a smile each and every day, while on the inside I felt a pit in my stomach from having all my emotions bottled up. I would have felt a lot more comfortable expressing my emotions then, which would have led to me no longer needing to act like I was okay when I truly wasn't. Why does this happen? It's because humans tend to shy away from vulnerability when in times of hurt. As we grow up, we tend to create boundaries and create a front around our thoughts and emotions. According to Lisa Fritcher, expert in psychology and mental health, vulnerability is a state of emotional unveiling that comes with a degree of uncertainty. So, when humans do choose to be vulnerable, it's like jumping into the deep end of the pool, not knowing if you're going to sink or swim. It's stepping out of your comfort zone and having absolutely no idea what will come next, no idea of the outcome. For instance, imagine your best friend is throwing a party but doesn't invite you. You are hurt by the situation, but you are also nervous to bring it up to your best friend because you don't know how he or she is going to react. They could be apologetic and sorry that they hurt you, or they could call you a baby for being upset about not being invited to a party. Either one is a strong possibility, so this degree of uncertainty is one of the main reasons why humans avoid vulnerability most of the time. While uncertainty comes with vulnerability, there could be a positive side to it as well. Embracing our vulnerabilities and our flaws makes us happier humans in what we view as signs of weakness, others see as courageous, as stated by researchers for the Oncology Nursing website. One example of this is my favorite TV show, Friends. On the very last episode of the series, Rachel is ready to leave behind her 5 best friends in New York City for a job working in fashion in Paris. Rachel and Ross were on and off for all 10 seasons of the show. Right before Rachel leaves for the airport, Ross chooses to be vulnerable and open to Rachel and tells her that he loves her and begs her to stay so that they could be together. Unfortunately, Rachel tells Ross that she is still going to Paris and says goodbye to him. However, sitting on the plane minutes before takeoff, after a lot of thinking, Rachel decides to get off the plane. And finally, spoiler alert, Rachel and Ross end up together. If it hadn't been for Ross's vulnerability towards Rachel, then Rachel would have gone to Paris and she wouldn't have ended up with Ross. Although this is a fictional TV show, we could all relate to the fact that when humans do choose to step out of their comfort zones and be vulnerable, it could ultimately lead to good. You may think that you could get away with putting up a shell and entirely hiding your feelings, but it's not emotionally healthy for humans to do this. According to psychologist Dr. Suzanne Smith, when we keep our emotions bottled up inside, we are creating unnecessary stress in our minds and bodies that builds up over time. Eventually, all this bottled up stress will present itself through physical symptoms, such as headaches or stomach aches, or even emotional distress. Even celebrities that we've always looked up to put up a strong front in times of hurt to avoid talking about what's going on the inside. Justin Bieber, even. Justin was one of the greatest teen pop stars at the time and rose to fame when he was only 14 years old. All the teenage girls wanted to date him, and he was becoming increasingly famous by the day and was already making a fortune. However, he still wasn't happy. He was also struggling with drug addiction at the time, according to NBC News. After many years went by, Justin finally opened up to the public about his struggles as a teen. Justin told news reporters that even with his great success, he was still sad and in pain with unresolved emotional issues. After Justin finally opened up, his fans became a strong support system, and he also led other celebrities to open up about their mental health struggles with teen stardom as well. In Demi Lovato's documentary, released in 2021, she opens up about her battle with heavy drugs and her drug overdose. Even people who are meant to be role models to the public, like Justin Bieber and Demi Lovato, struggle with talking about their feelings, especially when in the media it looked as if they lived these perfect, flashy lives. If these celebrities could open up and talk about their feelings and talk about what they're feeling inside, you can too. Humans could post on social media and act like everything is completely fine in public, but could also be breaking on the inside. Raise your hand if you had ever been upset and when someone asked you what's wrong, you said nothing or I'm fine. There are ways to break through this mask that humans put up to avoid vulnerability. I struggled holding all my feelings inside for so long, and all it did was hurt me in the long run. Today, I still struggle with expressing my feelings to others and showing vulnerability, but I'm trying to get better at that, and you can too. Next time a friend, or anybody for that matter, asks you if you're okay when you know that you're not, tell them why. Take a breath and try to remember. Not talking about your feelings may feel fine in the moment, but it will do more harm than good. No matter how closed off you are capable of opening up and becoming vulnerable. Everyone has that friend who is always smiling. Well, in the future, you should try to check up on your happy friends because you never know what they could be going through. They too could be putting on a mask and hiding from vulnerability rather than actually opening up and talking about their feelings. So maybe try to check up on your happy friends and let them know that you are there for them if they ever want to talk. Because you never know. The one going through the most could be the one with the biggest smile on their face. Thank you.